Okay, so we stopped at the end of the section where شروط صحة الوضوء. So the conditions that validate the wudu. So the conditions that validate the wudu are three. عموم البشرة بالماء الطهور, that pure water should reach all parts of the areas that need to be washed, which means that you can't use impure water. One cannot use impure water to achieve tahara, to achieve purity. So that's number one. So if a square millimeter is not washed, then the wudu is not valid. Okay, so the validity of the wudu, it rests upon every square millimeter that needs to be washed. It has to be washed. Okay, so this is for the validity of wudu. The second is وَإِنْقِطَاعُ مَا يُنَافِي مِنْ حَيْضٍ وَنِفَاسٍ وَحَدِثٍ. Those things which are incompatible with wudu, right? That has to stop before one initiates the wudu. So for example, a woman will not be able to do wudu when she is experiencing her cycle, or she is experiencing postnatal bleeding, or minor ritual impurity. For example, if there is najasa, such as urine or blood, which flows at the time of wudu. So blood, when blood comes out, that's one of the nullifying factors of wudu according to the Hanafi school and the Hanbali school. So if there is urine or blood which is flowing at the time of wudu, then the wudu is not complete. It is invalid for obvious reasons. Right? It's incompatible. So that was this the second condition. The third is that وَزَوَالُ مَا يُمْنَعُ وُصُولُ الْمَاءِ إِلَى الْجَسَدِ كَشَمْعٍ وَشَهْمٍ, that one must remove any type of dirt, right, that is going to prevent water from reaching the body, right? Wax. So for example, if somebody is handling candle wax, for instance, right? Sometimes wax, it falls on the small particles of it, might fall on the fingers or it might fall on the hands, or it might fall somewhere else where you have to wash, okay? Or if somebody's handling grease or oil, right? These are things that prevent water from reaching the skin, right? Grease, oil, it prevents water from reaching the skin. So when you do wudu, the water is not going to touch the skin. It's just going to slide off, right? Water is going to slide off. That is not going to, that wudu is going to be invalid, right? It is incompatible, right? That wudu is going to be incompatible. So this applies to nail polish, paint, glue. I believe someone had asked when we had covered this, that what if a person is painting and sometimes there are small specks of paint that remain. So I was looking at some of the texts that are mentioned in the classical books. It seems that if there is a genuine reason that it's not possible for this person to remove those specks, then one is permitted to do wudu on top. Right? If there is a genuine hardship that there's just so many specks and he's gotten rid of the majority of them, and then it's just not possible to get rid of the rest. Right? So in that kind of situation, in that scenario, it's permissible for him to just do wudu as is and perform the prayer. Okay, moving on. فصل في تمام أحكام الوضوء. So, fulfilling the injunctions of wudu. Okay, so there's additional injunctions related to wudu. So the author is saying, يجب يعني يفترض غسل ظاهر اللحية الكثة في أصح ما يفتى به. So he's talking about the beard over here. He's talking about the beard. That during wudu, if a person has a beard, does the beard need to be washed or not? So he's saying that it's obligatory to wash the visible part of the thick beard. It's obligatory to wash the visible part of a thick beard. And this is the soundest view where the fatwa, where the religious edict is given upon. Now what constitutes thick beard? What is the definition of a thick beard? So he's saying that a thick beard is that type of beard which covers the skin. So the skin underneath is not visible. It stops others from looking at the skin. Right? It prevents others from seeing the skin. So this is what constitutes, this is the ruling of a thick beard. And the reason it is obligatory to wash what is apparent is because of the thickness, right? That's now taken the place of the skin. So you just wash the outer part of the beard. So it's not wajib or fard to get water into the beard. Right? It's not fard to get water into the beard because this is going to be hardship. I mean, how would you even do that? Because the beard is thick. It's not possible to get water into the skin. So the obligation, right? What happens is that obligation of washing the skin, right? That obligation is no more. It is transferred onto the apparent, whatever is visible, the outer portion of the beard. That's where the obligation has transferred. Okay? So this is for a person who has a thick beard. Then it discusses وَيَجِبْ إِيصَالُ الْمَاءِ إِلَى بَشَرَةِ اللِّحْيَةِ الْخَفِيفَةِ. Okay? So that covers the thick beard. What about a person who has a small beard or a beard where the skin is visible? So in that kind of situation, if a person has a small beard or a beard where the skin is visible, it's obligatory for the water to reach the skin. It's obligatory for the water to reach the skin, and the reason is because it poses no hardship. There's no hardship, right? Getting water into the skin, so it's no issue whatsoever. Okay. ولا يجب إيصال الماء إلى المسترسل من الشعر عن دائرة الوجه ولا إلى من كتم من الشفتين عند الانضمام. Okay, so he's saying over here that it's not necessary for water to touch the hair that stretches from the outside of the face, right? From the outside of the face. So the water to reach the hair that stretches from the outside, the border of the face, this area, it's not wajib for water to touch that area. So you have some errant hairs. So people who have long beards, sometimes they have errant hairs, right? It's not fard to wash those errant hairs. This is not one of the obligatory acts of, getting every single hair washed. This is not from the faraid. Again, why? It's a hardship. This is a hardship. It's not possible for a person who has a big beard. This is not possible to wash every single hair, especially the errant hairs that are going, all directions. So this is not from the wajibat. This is not from the obligatory acts. He is saying that it's a requirement for water to reach that it is not a requirement for water to reach the section of the lips which is hidden when the mouth is closed. So when we close our mouth, right, there's a section of our lips that are hidden. It's not a requirement for water to reach that. Right? The wudu is complete. Right? So long as a person washes the face from where the hairline begins to below the chin, from one earlobe to the other, the wudu, the fard of washing the face is complete. It is not a requirement. It is not fard to wash the inner portion of the lips, only the outer portion. Okay, moving on. وَلَوْ إِنْ ضَمَّتِ الْأَصَابِعِ أَوْ طَالَ الظُّفْرِ. Okay, now he's talking about the fingers. What if the fingers are tightly closed, right, or held together, and it stops water from getting through? Or fingernails are long, right, and they're so long that the nail beds, right, they are no longer visible. The nail beds are no longer visible. The fingertips are no longer visible. And it's preventing water from reaching that part. Okay? So that too will be an issue. That will be an issue. So one needs to make sure that water reaches all of those parts. Otherwise, wudu would not be valid. So if the fingers are held together in a manner that stops water from flowing in between them, or fingernails have grown over the fingertips and prevented water from reaching the tips, or if there is something which prevents water from the skin, it prevents water from the skin, such as, let's say a woman is handling flour, right, or dough, or anything which sticks to the finger or sticks to the hand, then it's obligatory to wash after removing that obstruction. One has to remove that obstruction no matter what. Right? So if a woman is handling dough, because usually this is very common, especially in our countries, that women, they're constantly handling dough because they have to, because what they do is that they're making rotis throughout the entire day. In the morning they're making roti, in the afternoon and the evening they're always making roti. So what happens is, and people don't have, especially in our countries, they don't have like KitchenAid or anything, right? They don't have that, the dough maker or anything along those lines. So they're doing it by hand, right? They're doing it by hand. It's manual. They're doing it manually. So oftentimes what happens is that when they're kneading the dough, that dough tends to stick in between the fingers. So that is an obstruction that prevents water from reaching that area. This would, one has to remove that obstruction for the wudu to be valid, for the wudu to be correct. Okay. وَلَا يَمْنَعُ الدَّرْمُ وَخَرْءُ الْبَرَاغِيثِ وَنَحْوِهَا. Also, things such as insect droppings, the dung of fleas, things of the like, they do not prevent water from reaching the skin. So for example, if someone has insect droppings on the hand, or it comes onto the hand, the dung of fleas, things like that, these things don't prevent water from reaching the skin, because first of all, it's a very small amount, and number two, it's porous. It's porous. So the washing is valid in the presence of such things. Okay. وَيَجِبُ تَحْرِيكُ الْخَاتِمِ الضَّيِّقِ. That it's necessary that if a person has a ring on, that during wudu, he should move the ring a little bit. Right? If the ring is tight, he should move it a little bit. Why? Because so that water can reach that area that needs to be washed. So when the Prophet ﷺ, when he performed wudu, he would move his ring. He would move his ring. وَلَوْ ضَرَّهُ غَسْلُ شُقُوقُ رِجْلَيْهِ جَازِ إِمْرَارُ الْمَاءِ عَلَى الدَّوَاءِ الَّذِي وَضَعُوا فِيهَا. This is important. If washing the feet, and some people, they have cracks on their feet, and sometimes those cracks can be pretty severe, and as a result we'll have people that will put on medication on those cracks. Now what should that person do when he has to do wudu? So the author is saying, if the washing of one's feet is going to cause that individual harm and pain, right, it's permitted just to pass water. Don't wash it. Don't wash that part. Just kind of pass water over it with the, damp hands. So make your hands damp, right? And just pass water over it. Even if that is dangerous. If for whatever reason there's a possibility that by passing water over it with damp hands is going to cause infection or it will cause further problems, leave it altogether. Leave washing the feet, leave that area dry, let it be. And the wudu will still be considered as valid. One can pray salat in that situation. One can pray salat in that scenario. Okay? Alright. ولا يعاد المس ولا الغسل على موضع الشعر بعد حلقه ولا الغسل بقص الظفر وشاربه. Okay, so a person has done masah on the hair. Before the next salat, and this sometimes happens when one is doing umrah or hajj. So he's done umrah, right? He's in a state of wudu, he has long hair, right? Goes to the barber. The barber cuts off all of his hair, right? Shaves it all off. Does he need to do wudu again? No, he doesn't. He doesn't need to do wudu again. That masa that he did, that is valid, even if a person gets bald later. Even if he gets shaved later on, it's still valid. And neither is one required to repeat the washing after cutting his nails or mustache. Right? So if a person, for example, has done wudu, then he cuts his nails, does he have to wash? No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to wash again. And he doesn't have to do wudu again. Same thing with mustache. A person has a mustache and he's done wudu, then he shaves his mustache. Does he have to wash that area? No, he does not. He doesn't have to wash that area because it's already been washed, number one. And number two, the masa is already done. He's already done the masa. For those people who have long hair and then they get shaved during Umrah, the masa is still valid. This completes this section. Inshallah, we'll go over the Sunan of Wudu next week. Are there any questions? Open the floor for questions.
For the reed.
Yes.
Wajib. Is it wajib, right?
Yes, that one it's wajib to move it. If it's tight, it's wajib to move it. Yes, if it's tight. If it's not tight and water can get through, water can penetrate, it's not wajib. The ruling of wajib, the ruling of obligatory only comes into play if a person is wearing a tight ring and water cannot penetrate, water can't get through.
What about these moisturizers? Like we in our office, since COVID, even before COVID, we used to every patient we go and see, we put a sanitizer.
Yes.
And then we come out, we put the sanitizer, and it makes the hands so dry. We all day we keep on putting the moisturizer on our hands. Otherwise,
I don't think moisturizer prevents water from getting through.
That's what because the surface tension of the moisturizer.
Yes, exactly. So it's not like oil or grease where the water just kind of slides through or the water comes out on top. So it's not like that. Moisturizer, it depends on the type of moisturizer a person is using. So if it's like a clinical moisturizer, like over the counter, that's a different story. But the moisturizer that we can purchase from the store, Aveeno, Cetaphil, you have a whole array of different types of moisturizers. They're not to that extent where water is not going to penetrate. Yeah. So I would say it's okay.
If someone has a very long beard, like some people has like a foot or foot and a half days.
Okay.
Yeah. Are they supposed to wash that?
No. They would simply wash the outer portion of the beard. Yeah. Because washing the entire beard that would not be possible.
Is there a ruling of running your wet fingers through it?
Khilal, yeah, that will come in the sunnah. Yeah, that will come under the sunnah. It's from the sunnah. So the Prophet would do khilal like this, outwardly.
So meaning if you're being here, you have to wash until here only, that's what you're saying?
Yeah, then you would just wash, yes.
You didn't need to go,
Yeah. And if a person has, it's sunnah to keep, one fist length. More than that, according to many scholars, it's disliked.
Just one grab.
Yes, yeah, one qabda, one fist length. This was the sunnah of Ibn Umar and Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. So Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu and Ibn Umar, they would intentionally, they would cut below the fist length. Yes. Yeah, both of them. And both of them were strictly adherent to the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Strictly adherent, both of them.
And then you mentioned about the washing of the cuts of 1 feet. Is also for the hand?
Same thing would apply. Same thing. So if there's any type of cut on the hand and medication is on it, then one is allowed to pass a damp hand over it. And if that's going to be detrimental, then just, around it and don't let water touch the area. Leave it as is.
On the feet, you don't need to do tayammum, right?
If it's that severe and it's it's affected the entire foot, then tayammum might be permissible. We would have to look at it case by case. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, some people, they do the wudu, because some portion is covered, and then they also do tayammum together with that.
Tayammum is a substitute. In the Hanafi school, it is a substitute for wudu. That it's permissible if a person is unable to use water at all. So that's when tayammum is permissible. So for example, if a person has eczema, for that person, yeah, definitely tayammum would be the best option because water is going to consistently dry that person's skin. So tayammum, and some people have severe eczema. So for them, yeah, tayammum definitely would be a daily routine because it's not possible for them to use water.
Yeah. Which is the problem? Asthma, you say?
Eczema. Okay.
So you said when someone cuts the nail, the wudu after cutting is still valid.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that
yeah.
According to all 4 schools? Or?
I am not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the other schools. This is the Hanafi school.
Okay.
Yeah, this is according to the Hanafi school.
I heard different kind of fancy.
Yeah, so according to the Hanafi school,
okay.
If a person has done wudu and his nails are long, as long as the wudu reaches under the nails, the wudu is valid. If after that he cuts the nails, that wudu is still intact. Yeah, he doesn't have to repeat. It might be different in the other schools. I'm not sure. It's something I would need to check out.
Asking about Hanafi.
Yeah. This is the book that we're covering. This is one of the Hanafi primers.
Because someone was saying that if you have wudu, just go and wash the fingers. That should be
right. Yeah. The book that we're covering is a Hanafi book. Yes.
How about this nail polish inducing these?
Nail polish. If it's permeable. If the nail polish is permeable, so there is one nail polish that is available. It's called Inglot. Inglot, I-N-G-L-O-T. So water can penetrate. So the way to test nail polish, if water can get through, is you take the nail polish and you paint over a tissue. And then you take a dropper and put some water on top of that nail polish. If the water seeps through, you'll see it visible under the tissue. And if it doesn't, that means water is not going through, that nail polish would be a problem. So they do have permeable nail polish. It's called Inglot. Yeah.
One other question after this wudu.
Okay.
Why in Hanafi school they make the prayer short? Like during this Jama'ah, the Imam tries to read short surahs.
For Maghrib?
For many of them, except maybe for morning prayer.
I think the reasoning behind that is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ said that man amma qawman falyukhaffif, that whoever leads a group, then he should do takhfif.
Yeah.
He should his salat should be a salat of comfort. And then the Prophet ﷺ gave his reasoning. He said, فَإِنَّ وَرَاءَكُمْ, because behind you there is da'if, there are weak people, there are shuyukh, there are elderly people, and there are people that have hajat, there are people that have needs that they need to fulfill. That's probably the reason.
Which way?
Generally, for example, when I do Jan Hedaya, their surahs are very long. When we pray after Imam Rabi, his surahs are very, very long.
Yes.
But based on my experience when I was in Pakistan, Afghanistan, it will be very short, relatively like small surahs from the last part, usually like 4 or 5 ayahs, 7, 8, but any case small ones.
Yeah.
And that was very common. So, but over here, I see sometimes very long surahs.
It depends on the demographic as well.
Yeah.
It depends on the demographic who's offering salat behind you. I think that's what it's based on.
And I see some people, they are sitting on the chair in place, so that means they are da'if or sick or old
Yes,
people.
yes. So it's always recommended
Yeah.
for the imam to, be considerate who's offering salat.
Because that's what we were told, right?
Or somebody has to run to the washroom.
Same reason you
Same
say.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also another hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that there was Mu'adh, he was leading the prayer, and one Sahabi, during the prayer, he left. And that Sahabi, he was accused of being a munafiq. And so they went to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ called that Sahabi. And the Sahabi explained that, Ya Rasulullah, I'm not a munafiq, but the reality is that I come to the prayer, and I work all day in the fields. I come to the prayer, and the prayer is very long. So then the Prophet ﷺ reprimanded Mu'adh, and he said, Afattanun anta ya Mu'adh, that are you, creating hardship for the people who are offering salat behind you? So then Mu'adh, he started to shorten his prayer.
Yeah.
So it's always, again, it depends on the demographic, it depends on who's offering salat behind. If you have like a group of, mashallah, young men offering salat behind, then yeah, sure, go for it.
Yeah.
Right? You can do qiraat for 15-20 minutes. But if you have it's a combination of young kids, elderly people, then you should be average. I would say
or somebody has to answer the nature's call.
yeah, I would say for the audible prayers, I would say about 8 to 10 minutes. I would say, and for the inaudible prayers, I would say 6-7 minutes.
No, 8 to 10 minutes for how many rakats?
For the audible prayers.
Like 4 rakat.
Yeah, so for the audible prayers are Fajr,
Yeah.
Maghrib, and Isha. So I would say about 8 to 10 minutes for these 3. And then for the silent prayers, I would say about 7 minutes. Yeah. for Dhuhr and Asr. Just to make it easy for everyone.
That's right.
Subhanallah.
Especially people like people who stand bad knees. People like me cannot stand too long with bad knees.